Hello, LSCCs. You out there co-creating a more fulfilled and flourishing world. So excited to share with you this month's skill refresh. And we're going to be specifically focusing on perspectives, a coaching tool that you receive at the Coaching and Self on-site. It's very powerful, especially during times of transition when your client is feeling stuck. You want to go into perspectives. So they might tell you what they're feeling stuck around. You might also ask them at the beginning of a session to choose their topic based on something that they're feeling stuck around. And I think it's especially pertinent as we come to the end of 2020 and move into 2021 to offer this tool to our clients as we move from a year with so much unknown, so much that we didn't plan, into another year that looks different. This new year looks different than any other year that we've had. So it would make all the sense in the world why we would be feeling a little bit stuck, and why the perspective that we're sitting in right now might not be resonant with our best and truest self. So a reminder, I just walked through this tool for myself on Facebook and Instagram Live, and wanted to share a reminder, a refresh of the process for you as you work through it with your clients. Also, in your Coactive coaching text, the balance chapter has the complete process as well for moving through the perspectives tool. So the first thing that we do is bring awareness to our current perspective. So the client sets the topic. I guess that's technically the first thing. The client sets the topic, and you want the topic to be as specific as possible. And then they're going to choose something that will represent that topic. So in my example, I chose this bottle of hand sanitizer to represent moving into 2021. We're going to place that topic somewhere in their space, right? And then we're going to sit and view the topic moving into 2021 from our current perspective. The sorts of questions that we want to ask about the current perspective are in order to notice what it's like. So notice, what is it like to be in your current perspective looking at moving toward 2021? What does your body notice about being in this perspective? If this perspective were a landscape or a habitat, what would it be? And then being sure to ask, what are the strengths and weaknesses of this perspective? Or what are the great things about this, and what are the liabilities? What assets do you have here? What resources do you have here? And what's lacking here? So some sort of combination of both, so that you're seeing both and in this perspective, so that you're seeing both the strength and the weakness. You're seeing both the asset and the liability. You're seeing both the abundance and the scarcity that's present in this perspective. It's really helpful to have some sort of, whether it's the question about landscape or habitat, or a picture that they find on Google Images or that they have on their phone, something visual, whether it's imagined or actually in front of them, to represent this perspective. So my first perspective was, I named it Peering Out. That was my current perspective on 2021. Well, then we want to explore some new perspectives, right? And every time you explore a new perspective, you have to move your body, because your embodied sense of self is going to pick up on things in each perspective that your conceptual sense of self does not pick up on. It's going to bring information and truth to that perspective that you're not able to access with just your prefrontal cortex. So even if the client is on Zoom or restricted in their movement, they could turn their head for a different perspective. They can turn their body for a different perspective. If you're doing some sort of nature-based or experiential coaching perspectives is amazing because you can actually move about in a really large space and posture yourself differently in that space based on the amount of room that you have to navigate in. So exploring other perspectives, you're going to want to explore at least 3 other perspectives. If you only explore 2 perspectives, then you've got you've got either or. If you explore 3 perspectives, then you've got like where you started, its opposite polarity, and 1 other option. But if you explore at least 4, then that opens up creativity and imagination in a new way. People can actually explore resonant choice, start putting different things together in a way that they didn't conceive of before. So in each perspective, you're going to want to choose your posture and then notice again what it's like in this perspective. What does your body notice about being in this perspective? If this perspective were a landscape or habitat, what would it be? What are the strengths and weaknesses, assets and liabilities of this perspective? What's abundant here? What do we not have access to here? So kind of when you're preparing to do perspectives, choose your questions. This is an area where you can choose your questions for each perspective ahead of time. Just choose 3 or 4 questions for each perspective that hit on those things. Noticing what it's like in my body, some sort of picture, some sort of visual for it, and the exploring both ends, so the scarcity and the abundance, that sort of thing. So choose those 4 questions, and then you can use your intuition and curiosity to ask more within the perspective, to name more within the perspective, to notice more within the perspective. But you always have those grounding questions to make sure that their experience of exploring each perspective is complete and whole. Some options for perspectives would be just the polar opposite of their current perspective. So for me, that was fully engaged instead of just peering out. I also chose reciprocity because it's one of my values, Fred Rogers because he's someone that I admire, and you can do that too. Another thing that I really like to do is ask people what their favorite drink or dessert is, and sometimes the perspective of their pet or child or an ancestor can be really helpful too. This is a skill, this is a tool that requires the coach to take charge. So that's one of the coaching skills in your Coactive coaching glossary is take charge. This is one where you get to be very directive and guide the client through the process, especially their first time through. So once you have set the topic, named the current perspective, explored at least 3 more perspectives so that you've got 4 total, then you can choose the resonant perspective. The client can choose the resonant perspective. From there, you create a coactive strategy sitting in that resonant perspective. Coactive strategy is creating 2 columns, a being column and a doing column. And then you and the client brainstorm as many things as you can without attachment or judgment about what the client would want to do and who the client would want to be as they sit in that perspective moving toward their topic. Once you've brainstormed that, you choose, your client chooses, you request the top 2 to 4 options from each side. This makes it manageable. It also means they're not committing to everything that they brainstormed. And in those 2 to 4 options from each side, you're going to request that they do something, an achievable first step for each of those options within the next 21 days. You're also going to ask them what the step after that is, so that we're not just accomplishing and then done. We're thinking about like sustainability, right? And what comes next. So you'll request with setting the date and time, asking about accountability, acknowledging and championing them. And then you'll move into commitment, which is when you lay a pen or a piece of tape or a spoon or something on the floor as kind of a dividing line. And what I tell my clients is, we've been exploring in the land of possibility this entire session. And so that's where we are on this side of the line. This has been the land of possibility, and it's amazing and has so many options and the gift of creativity and imagination. And we're about to step into the land of commitment, where you know what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to, where you're not confused or stuck, where things aren't complicated because not as complicated because you've decided this is what I'm saying yes to and this is what I'm saying no to. Will you step over into the land of commitment when you're ready? And so they do. And as they step over, they say, this is what I'm saying yes to, and this is what I'm saying no to. And as the coach, you can also acknowledge and affirm, this is what I see you saying yes to, and this is what I see you saying no to. And that's it. That's perspective. So I know that sometimes coaches are hesitant to use perspectives. It's a more complicated tool. It takes the whole session, but in my experience, when I've been committed to using it at least once with each client, there's always shifting and always movement. And again, I think it's an incredible tool to plan to use with your clients as they move into a new year, as they move into a new season. So thanks for sitting with me during this skill refresh, and Happy New Year.